Hi guys, this is Mrs. Cerami of 6.2 Day 1, Properties of Rational Exponents. Today we're just going to review Algebra 1 concepts and apply them to fractional exponents. So the first rule, which you reviewed yesterday, is if you have a to the m times a to the n, we know that if you have the same base, then you just add the exponents together. So an example for this section would be something like 5 to the 1/2 power times 5 to the 3/2 power. So the bases are the same. So we're going to add the exponents. So we're going to have 5 to the 4/2 power, which is 5 squared, which is 25. So again, same base, add exponents. You're just adding fractions. That's all you're doing now. If you have a power raised to a power, you multiply the powers together. So a to the m raised to the n is a to the mn. And again, that's a review of Algebra 1. In Algebra 2, extension of that would be something like 3 to the 5/2 raised to the second power. So you're going to have 3 to the 5/2 times 2, which is 2 over 1. That cancels. So you're left with 3 to the 5th power, which is 243. Again, you will have to demonstrate that you can do this without a calculator. I know that for homework, you could just put in your calculator, but you're going to have to show me this work right here on there. If you have AB raised to the m power and it's one term, this has to be a monomial in order for this to work. That is the same thing as a to the m times b to the m. So again, an example of that would be something like 16 times 9 raised to the 1/2 power. That's the same thing as 16 to the 1/2 power times 9 to the 1/2 power. And we've learned that the denominator means the root. So this is the same thing as square root of 16 times square root of 9, which would be 4 times 3, which is 12. And again, you guys are going to have to show me work with this. If you have a to the negative m, this means reciprocal. Okay, so it means 1 over to a to the m. In the same respect, if you have 1 over a to the negative m, again, that means reciprocal. You're going to bring that up. So it's a to the m over 1, or just a to the m. So just to show you the two different ones. So for example, if you have 36 to the negative 1/2 power, then what you're going to do is you're going to take the square root of 36, and that's raised to the negative 1 power. So that's going to be 6 to the negative 1, which is 1/6. Different ways of looking at it. You could just take the square root and then just bring it down. A to the m over a to the n is a to the m minus n. So again, an example of that is 4 to the 5/2 over 4 to the 1/2. So again, the bases are the same. You're going to subtract the exponents. So it's 4 to the 5/2 minus 1/2, which is 4 to the 4/2, which is 4 squared, which is 16. And the last property is when you have a power raised to the exponent, so AB raised to the m, and again, this has to be a monomial. It's a to the m over b to the m. So an example of that is 27 over 64 raised to the 1/3. That is the same thing as 27 raised to the 1/3 over 64 raised to the 1/3. So what this is saying is what's the cube root of 27 and what's the cube root of 64. So what times itself 3 times will give you 27, and that's 3. What times itself 4 times will give you 64, and that's 4. So the answer is 3/4 there. So just to give you some problems to practice on your own. Okay, you could practice 7. So you could practice these and I'll give you the answer. So 7 to the 1/4 times 7 to the 1/2. You could practice 6 to the 1/2 times 4 to the 1/3. You could practice 4 to the 5th times 3 to the 5th, all raised to the negative 1/5. And then we can also practice D, which is 5 over 5 to the 1/3 power. and E 42 to the 1/3 power over 6 to the 1/3 squared. So again, feel free to pause it, do the work. I'm going to do the work right now. Let's do Pirate Blue. So it's the same base, and you're multiplying, so you're going to add the exponents. So it's going to be 1/4 plus 1/2. That's 3/4, and we cannot simplify that any further. Here we have, actually this is supposed to be all to the 2nd power. So this is going to be 6 to the 1/2 times 2 over 1 times 4 to the 1/3 times 2 over 1. So this simplifies to 6 to the 1st times 4 to the 2/3. And you can't simplify that any further. Here, this is going to simplify to 4 to the -1st power, because you're going to multiply, times 3 to the -1st power. So you're going to have 1/4 times 1/3, because -1st means reciprocal, and this will give you 1/12. For this one here, this is really 5 to the 1st power, so you have to subtract the exponents. So you're really going to have 5 to the 2/3 power. 1 minus 1/3 is 2/3. And again, you can't take the cube root, so you can't simplify that. And E, this was a squared here. So we're going to, two ways of doing this. One is you could make this 42 over 6, all raised to the 1/3, because it's both to the 1/3, and then they're both squared. So this is going to be 7 to the 2/3. So that's one way you can do that problem. So you're going to have more problems like this for homework. If you have any questions, guys, message me. And next week we'll do a live Teams. I have it down pat today. I had a really productive with the Algebra CP today. We were spent 45 minutes just Q&Aing. Block E, it was awesome seeing those guys that went on. It was good just to talk to you as well. Please join just to say hi or for questions. Have a good day, guys. Bye.